young. I think it was probably around 11. Drugs came in at 17 when I was in high school. So I was probably a senior, I'm guessing, you know?
Right.
Man, it was very recreational for a long time. And then you get out of high school and responsibilities start coming along. And then there's not the funny stories aren't as much as they used to be. And there's like trouble that comes along. And when you get married and have kids then, and there's responsibilities, and it just gets, you know, I got to a point I couldn't stop. Just got to a point where, you know, me and my wife had got together. I remember getting with her and I'm just like, okay, all this needs to stop. And I just couldn't stop. She knew, like, whenever I'd get home and a beer would get in my hand, you know, the problem was she knew a storm was coming and she just didn't know how big it would be. So her demeanor would change and I would see her demeanor change. That would irritate me. And then I would just pick a fight. So then I could just go down to the bar. My wife had to come home to her home and had to walk on eggshells in her own home. Like, she couldn't be comfortable in her own home. That bothers me. There's just stuff like that you don't think of when you're in the middle of what you're doing. I ain't hurt nobody.
Right.
Just having some beers.
Yeah.
Ain't affect nobody else, you know? So that was my attitude with a lot of that. And, but it does, man. It affects a lot of people. Man, I would try everything under the sun. I failed a drug test where I worked, had to go to rehab. And I was like, man, this isn't for me.
Right.
And so I just need to stop doing drugs. I can keep drinking, you know?
Yeah.
And so anyway, fast forward, dude, to 2016. And I've already set all these deadlines when I'm going to stop and move forward. And I blow past every one of them.
Yeah.
And I just remember, not a big church going guy, you know, but I do believe there's something bigger out there. And I remember dude sitting on my couch just being like, God, I need your help. Like, I'm done with this. I can't do this anymore. And I'm like, I'm telling my wife, I gotta go to rehab. I can't do this.
Yeah.
And so
you tried to do it on your own and it was just too much.
Hundreds of times.
Yeah.
Hundreds of times, you know, and it just couldn't. So, dude, I looked for this rehab that said not all the way 12-step program, you know? And I'm like, I just want to do some yoga, you know, do a little therapy and get back to life, right? And dude, for whatever reason, I gave myself this one rule and I stuck with it. And that was, I'm going to try this whole 12-step thing. I'm going to do everything they say I suggest. But as soon as it ain't working, I had to be honest with myself.
Right.
And that was, if this 12-step thing isn't working, am I really doing what they're telling me to do? Whenever it was going to shit, like if I really sat down and went, hey, am I really doing what they've been telling me to do? And it's just like, no, I'm not. And so I wouldn't quit on it. And I would go back at it. And dude, it just worked throughout the years. And I remember when I was getting up to like 1 year of sobriety, man, like my head was going a little weird that week up to it.
Right.
And then like, cause dude, there's an alcoholic and addict that lives in me, dude. And it was like, the alcoholic in me was like, okay, we've played this game too long. Let's go get a drink. You're about to get a year here and that you're kind of committing to this whole sobriety thing. Let's not do that. You know?
Right.
And dude, it was a weird time for me. And so, but anyway, I got the year and I kept doing what I'm doing. I got a group of men around me that, you know, some of them have lots of, done this a lot longer than I have. Right. And I got guys I can reach out to. And dude, a lot of guys that understand the craziness that goes on in that alcoholic head of just like, I love it, man. I can call them and tell them I'm crazy, and they're just like, "Hell yeah, I get it."
Yeah, no.
You know, and the big thing is though, what I've learned to do, and I'm still learning to do is when everything's all screwed up. You know, man, I was before I got sober. Dude, this finger, man, would get worn out with all the pointing of the reasons why everything's jacked up.
I love that. Yeah.
You know, I tell you this story when I was down in rehab. This was, so dude, we sit down for this group meeting, right? And it's like this 80-year-old lady, little frail lady. She comes into this little group. She goes, I want you guys to write down, tell me something that makes you mad. Something that, you know, I was like, oh, I've got one. So I said, I got one for her, you know, everybody's going to agree with me on this.
Yeah.
And so I wrote out, when I hold the door open for someone and they don't say thank you, you know, and she's like, well, how do you feel? I go, I want to drag them back through that door, you know, because, and she goes, oh yeah. And dude, she goes, so here's the solution to that problem. And I'm like, okay. She goes, stop holding doors open for people because you can't handle it. It's too much for you. And I go, oh my God. And I was like, bitch, you know, and I'm like, and she goes, because you're not opening a door to be nice. She goes, you're opening a door and for validation. And she goes, when they say thank you, it validates you. You did something good and you feel good about yourself. But when they don't, you can't handle it. She goes, so just stop doing that, honey, because it's just too much for you.
Wow.
And I was
that is a grand slam home run. Mentally.
I've never been punked like that in my life. And so, but I listened to what she said and I couldn't argue it. And I was like, I didn't want to believe that. What?
Yeah.
Like, that's, she just called me a bitch.
Yeah.
And dude, but something as simple as that.
Yeah.
Man, I knew I could be mad at that. I was justified. It wasn't,
right.
Mm-hmm. So it's just little stuff like that. Looking at your part, man. And typically people I'm mad at, I have put these unrealistic expectations on this person. Like, it's like this guy is a piece of shit all the time, right?
Right.
And then he ends up being a piece of shit to me and I'm pissed about it.
Right.
Why did I expect him not to be a piece of shit to me when he's a piece of shit to everyone? I'm 42 and I'm just now starting to figure out how to live life,
Right.
I was very immature and just didn't really know how to handle. I'm usually mad because something's not going my way.
Right.
And now I got to adjust and I don't want to because whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like in the beginning stages when you wanted to go get a drink.
Right.
Or you wanted to slip up and you probably had the opportunity to, how did you not do it?
Reached out. I called people that the guys that are around me that have been sober for a long time, and I call them and go, hey man, this is what I want to do.
Right.
And they go, and then they can start asking you questions of like the why, what's going on, what's this and that, and then go, okay, let's play that out. So for me, that was a big one too. Was playing out the next 24 hours.
Right.
Okay. Trying to be better at things. Trying to be better at life.
Right.
Handling situations. I'm not good at a lot of stuff still, man. I got a lot of work to do. Being a good father, man, that time goes by so fast.
Right.
And so trying to be a good father, I got to be a better husband. That just becoming a little bit better each day. Yeah. Man, I fall short a lot of days, and dude, and it's a cumulative of doing a little bit of work every day.
Right.
And there's a lot of days I'll go where I don't do the work, and I can tell, so yeah, just becoming a little bit better, man. Things I think of question wise too is when you think back as gives me some gratitude is remember when you were wishing that you had everything you had now. And It's just like, dude, so that's one.
Being grateful and thankful for sure.
Yeah. 'Cause I can get ungrateful.
Yes.
So
especially when someone just say thank you when you open the door, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop doing it. I love
handle
it.
It's too much fun.